When we started Cruise Port Captain, we didn't originally want to include ship tours because so many other creators do them. But the more we started doing the videos, we thought, well, maybe you would like to see the ship the way we look at the ships when we evaluate whether it's a good ship for us. And with that in mind, I'm going to give you a tour of the Regal Princess. We took the Regal Princess in April, and it was a transatlantic from Florida to Southampton, England. So, without further ado, we're going to show you some of the Regal Princess. Hi, we're the Cruise Port Captain crew, exploring the world one port at a time. After more than 20 years of cruising, we've learned the best port days are usually the ones we've planned ourselves. Doing it on your own lets you explore deeper, save money, and truly make the most of every stop. Join us for port guides, travel tips, and cruise know how to help you make every port day count. Check the video description for links to our favorite resources and tools that help us cruise smarter, and maybe they'll inspire your next adventure. Now, on to the video. It's fun that the Regal Princess was actually christened by the cast of the Love Boat, and they have a really nice kind of, not memorial, but a really nice little display in the guest services area that show the cast then and now, and then the actual ceremony. The statistics about the Regal Princess, its maiden voyage was 2014, so a little bit on the older side, but it was refurbished in 2020. And it recently went into dry dock in 2025, which is funny thing enough why the asterisk is there says we were on the ship right before it went into dry dock. So if they made any major changes after that, then we don't know about it. Passengers wise, 3,500 passengers, a little bit over, 19 decks. I would say something that was different too. Many of those decks were room only, so not maybe as much public spaces as we've seen on other ships. And its twin sister ship is the Royal Princess. So if you are watching, if you plan on going to Royal Princess, this is going to be very similar. Let's go into the onboarding process. So when we onboarded in Fort Lauderdale, we were cruising to Southampton, England. You can see it was quite messy. We're not sure. I would guess it was messy because the UK had moved to a new electronic uh, tourist thing authorization. That's right, the ETA, Electronic Transit Tourist Authorization. And everyone had to fill it out, but it was probably one of the first cruises that ever did this. So it was very clunky, and that's why we waited outside. I'm imagining on a regular cruise or a cruise that did not have fancy immigration process, it would be much easier. But as you can see, it was pretty clunky for us to get on the ship. But once we did, we got what is called a medallion, and I actually have them still on my desk here because it was so cool. You don't get room cards on Princess. You carry this little medallion with you. They do give you a lanyard like you see, but you can also just carry it in your pocket. You don't actually have to wear it around your neck all the time. And this is your entire thing that you need for your entire cruise. It is your room key, and it is also linked to your folio, your room account. So there's no cards anymore on Princess. So you just carry this handy little thing. So, and because you have the medallion, there's so many nice things slash creepy things about having the medallion. One, it does open your room. So you can see this is the room key. This is what it looks like. So your picture shows up and you can see whether, and this is also how you're going to tell housekeeping if you need the room cleaned or not. It links to the app. We got to give Princess kudos for the app. We use a lot of these cruise line apps and they're more confusing than helpful, but this was a really well done app. You could use the chat function to get questions answered by the front desk, which we did. Just very well done. And something else, again, creepy cool, is because you have the medallions on, there's almost a GPS system on the ship. So when you use the app, you can see where other people in your party are. So you can see here, I was somewhere else, and the first mate was on deck 16. Very handy. You don't have to leave each other notes or wait for text delays, which we've had on other applications. But overall, once we got on the ship, got our little medallions, it was time to sail. Another thing that Princess Cruise Line does well is it's very nice to see the deck plans on their website. So this is a preview of our room. You put your room number in, and not only does it give you the deck number, it also shows you where you are and gives you the square footage. So for this particular voyage, we were A110, which was the Aloha deck. And if you remember from the show in the 70s and 80s, that many people stayed on the Aloha deck. So that was kind of fun to hear that all the time. And now I'm going to I'll show you how the room was laid out. So you can decide it is an interior stateroom. That's usually what we get. Sometimes we'll upgrade on certain situations, but this is usually our go to room. This was what it looked like. Now, this is not made up for embarkation. It was done much nicer than this must have been as we were just going out through the cruise. But as you can see, like this is kind of standard, very roomy. Our luggage fit easily under the bed, so we didn't have to see our bags the whole time. And they had a very large desk that ran across the entire wall. There is no extra couch in this room. We did peek into other rooms that did have the little extra couch or seating area. I try to look around at the different rooms, but I try not to be, weird either. And certainly I would never go into anybody else's room, but if it just happens to be open, why not look? So that gives you the basic layout. So a little tight on the corners, but overall it was okay. What we liked, though, that we had not seen, I don't think on any ships, at least not recently, is it had a smart TV, and you could watch movies, you could watch the guest lectures, which was nice too, is you could start the lecture, stop it, and then resume it later. So it worked just like a smart television does at home. That was very nice. Not all cruise lines have updated to this technology, so you're still watching like endless uh, cycles of Murder, She Wrote, which is fine, but maybe you don't want to watch that for your entire cruise. Every once in a while, it would disconnect though, and it must happen quite a bit. So, how we fixed it, you didn't have to always call the front desk. You could use the app, and they could walk you through the steps, or they would send some from maintenance to help you. It must happen a lot because they really knew the go-to steps. Never took more than 5 minutes to get it reset. We learned how to do it, so when it happened, it was no challenge to get it reset, like kind of like a Roku might reset at home. Um, but overall, very happy with a smart TV and very impressed with it. And when you're on a transatlantic cruise, you have those great sea days, and sometimes you just want to sit in your room and watch TV. This made that a pleasure. Gotta give. So, for what it kind of lacked in room at the beginning where the bed was, certainly made up for the closet area. So, the closet was huge. Now, not only was it huge, it also was motion detector lit. So, it was very much the bed is on the back side of where the closet is. So, if one of you got up early, I'm an early riser, the first mate is not, I could go into this area and the light would flip on automatically. I'm in a complete separate area so I don't disturb him as I was getting ready, and then I go get my coffee. So this was really nice. And when you're on a longer voyage too, and you're both kind of getting in and out, up and down, all hours of the night, it was really nice to have this bigger closet that had the motion detector lighting. I want to show you another cabin too. So we stayed in A110, but this is going to be about cabin A216 if I'm looking at it right. So it's one of the cabins. I'm realizing I'm doing this with my cursor and you can't see that. But it was, as you can see, our room went from the front door back was our room. The ones about in the middle, then they started shifting. So we were like this, and then some of the rooms are like this. And I was curious what that would look like as far as setup. So when the ship was disembarking, I took a quick photo. So this is what those cabins looked like. Now we would have been concerned since this wasn't like in an interior hall, that this might be noisy because people would be walking right by you. We can't confirm that if that is a problem, but that is one reason we probably wouldn't get this cabin. So we just wanted you to, if you're considering that cabin, get a good sense of where the bed is positioned related to the door. We checked in, we visited our room. So, what are you going to do with yourself while you're on the Regal Princess? We're going to split this up into the indoor activities and the outdoor activities. So, the main area is the piazza, is what it's called. And you can see that this is a picture from the grand staircase, and it's about 4 or 5 decks of entertainment lounge areas. Good and bad with that, but this is, you can see from the deck plan, this is where most of the public areas are going to be, in the smaller decks of the ship. So here is one of the lounges, and it very, very nice, very, very quiet. Several lounges in this area, and you can see like the sun's about to set, and I think it was formal night because you see the gentleman behind me in his nice looking suit. Other things to do in the piazza area is they have, on the main floor, there was activities all day. That is at the lower left. They had a lot of fun games with the officers. Their activities program was very much like most cruise ships, bingo, trivia, all that good stuff. But they did a lot of fun things with the officers, and they did a dancing with the officers, kind of a take on the dancings with the stars. And they had lots of the coffee shop was down on the bottom floor of the piazza. They had a gelato kind of restaurant bar there. They had a library. They had a lounge that included a television studio where they did the live broadcast every day of the of the daily activities. So the good thing about the piazza is it was big, and it was nice to have that kind of room, especially on a transatlantic voyage. The bad thing about it is that it was so open, and they did a lot of activities in that bottom floor. So there weren't many places just to sit and have a quiet moment. There seemed to be something going on all the time in the limited lounges that there were. And if you didn't want to stay in your room all the time, or like us, you have an interior room, so you have a kind of smaller space, it was kind of hard to find space during the day to just kind of chill and read a book that wasn't so loud. And I'll show you next what happened. They did a lot of activities in that bottom floor, like I said. So let's watch some folks do Zumba. And yes, lots of us go on cruising to see the entertainment. A couple of things to note about this. So the entertainment was great when we actually could see it. And the only reason we had problems sometimes seeing it is that it seemed like it was a small theater for a passenger size, as much as it was. So our tip here is, if you are interested in a theater production, that you go early and save your seat, or not save your seat because you can't save your seat. Don't be a jerk and save your seat, but go early and just be prepared to wait, get a nice cocktail, and see the performance that way. A couple of times we went maybe 15 minutes before the show and it was already sold out. It's not something you can reserve with your medallion. It really is first come, first serve. So it's great to see the shows. The shows were all well done, great cast, high quality, but go early too if you really want to enjoy it. Now we'll move on to the outdoor activities. So this is when we were leaving. I believe this is Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, it is Fort Lauderdale, because you can see the Royal Caribbean Liberty of the Seas behind me. I do apologize for the pictures not being great. You might have noticed already. Some of them are grainy, and I don't know why. I followed the same process I follow every time I make a video, but for some reason, it didn't work out great. So the picture before, you saw the pool area in general, but I did want to point out on the main pool that they have this platform area where they do a water show. It's a fountain show. It's fun and different. They sometimes do the entertainment shows too, where the dancers will come and do a performance. And good space. We were on a transatlantic, so the weather's not always great. So we weren't outside very much, but it did have a lot of space, and it also didn't have those kind of obnoxious signs. Don't save your chair. Um, because Princess was it's that upper scale experience, so you don't have to worry about towels and all that stuff. Now, the Sanctuary is Princess's their more exclusive spa product and a part of their suite. So I snuck in, don't tell anybody, but this is like taking a picture from over so you can get a sense of what that pool looks like. And they had pagodas, and it's just a different quiet area. This is not for the main guest. I believe you could pay a fee to stay there for the day or get a pass, or it was part of what the suite guests were offered. Sports deck. So after you've ate all this food, you need to get some of that energy off. The sports deck does have some offerings for you that I want to share. It is kind of small, but most of us don't go on cruises to exercise. We cruise to get the job done and hopefully to keep an even keel. So when we come home, the scale is not too much of a shocker. But this is the court and the layout of the main sports deck. Those activities include this is what the sports deck looked like from two angles. The first mate was jogging there, and I gave you another view there. It is small though, so if there's a lot of walkers, it could be very crowded, and you got to really watch that runner's etiquette. It got really windy, especially near the end of the transatlantic, where it was just miserable to walk. The pickleball, everybody's favorite. So they had almost, I think it's a regular size court. People are playing pickleball all the time. On the upper sun deck, that was never busy. So we went up there a time or two and did yoga. The gym was on the smaller side. Didn't like that. So it was really crowded almost all the time. And you can see that's a pretty aggressive fitness schedule into the one room. It seems more popular now that people are bringing their phones and grabbing weights and kind of finding their area. And on this particular ship, because there was something almost always going on in that room, it made it a little bit harder to find your space. It worked, and it's always worth working out. If you want to find a way, you'll find a way. But just keep in mind, it is kind of quite busy. Some people took the weights and they actually went outside the gym where there was a nice area at the adult kind of retreat area where they could get some space. But overall, this was more like it's there if you got to get it done or you want to keep your fitness level. But it wasn't really the best experience we've had as far as a gym and fitness area. The less than 4,000 passengers is typically the ships that we go on because we're going on more longer itineraries, and that tends to be where the smaller ships are. And that's great. And one thing we really thought was unique about Princess is the ship, the signage was very clear, that there wasn't the automated, you hit, oh, I can't stand those screens and you keep hitting them and nothing ever happens. So what I appreciated that every deck had these very large screens to tell you where we were going, what time we were getting there, the weather. And so I appreciated that. I thought it was a nice touch. And this is getting less and less, but it is a big deal when you're taking a longer voyages. They had a full laundry. So they had washing machines, drying machines, and irons as well. You can buy the detergent if you want to, but hey, here is a cruise port captain tip. We take the pods from home and put them in plastic, like a really tiny plastic container. So that just helps because we prefer our detergent because you never know what you're going to get on a ship. It's not always for cost. It's because like we don't like certain smells and you can't be so picky. Um, you used your medallion to purchase the coins. If you had any problem, you just called front desk. But this was a big help and it was economical. They had a television in there, but I just left it too. I wasn't worried about anybody taking it. It's just always one of those things. Just be cool when you're in a laundry, but it was very nice that it was even there. Also, with Princess, as we've been going the other lines, formal night is still really formal night. They have a tradition at Princess of doing a champagne fountain. I had a video of it, but I don't know what happens. But that's the captain and the cruise director. They start with a champagne fountain pouring at the top, and they let guests take turns. But formal night gowns were, many women were still in evening gowns or cocktail dresses. Many gentlemen were still in tuxedos or suits. I remember one man was in his full military dress uniform, so that was really classy. It's just a classy, elegant experience, which many cruise lines have gotten so relaxed that formal night's not even really anything special anymore. But on Princess, it absolutely still is special. And another thing that we loved is the International Cafe. Oh, this was bad for me in the first May. And you can see you got a great crew member back there wishing us peace, and just a very friendly, professional crew. This was open almost 24 hours a day, and very high quality pastries. They switched it out too. There was a breakfast option. So if you don't want to go to the buffet or full service, you could go by there and get still like a nice snack, like a little egg sandwich to get you going. And then they switched over to pastries and regular sandwiches in the afternoon. They knew us very well, as almost everybody who serves a cookie on a ship will know me and the first mate well by the end of it. But this was really a nice feature. And finally, I'll take to one of the other reasons we cruise is because of the food. I'll give you a quick tour of some of the dining options. So the Horizon Bistro served smaller snacks, had a little bit of a different decor to it. Smaller snacks means that, smaller snacks by cruise version is a taco bar, a sandwich bar, but still not considered the full buffet. That was open pretty much throughout the day until dinner time, when then the full buffet took over. Now, the full buffet too did have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but anytime that it wasn't open, when they were doing the changeover, the bistro was open. So you could always get something, and you could always get something delicious. What was also nice about the buffet is that every night they had a specialty dessert. So you can see I had waffles one night, and you can see I had dipped apples. They did a dipped chocolate fondue kind of extravaganza one night. And they also did crepes almost like every other night, which was always busy. So if you want a crepe, go early. And you can see what the decor looks like behind me. It did look more like a formal dining room. And I did like on Princess that you didn't feel like you were getting a lesser experience by going to the buffet. It was really a good quality experience, just as good as we would experience at home. Some sample of the foods that I had, I did better the second cruise, but just to give you a few samples, some of the pastries I got for breakfast. They gave out smoothies were available all the time. You did not have to buy these as a separate purchase, which was nice because we have been on cruises where for a green, the detox smoothie, they charge you. This was my dinner one night here in the middle. That is like a shepherd's pie. I just love that on a cruise ship. And then were some of my breakfast options. I'll tell you that omelet was so good. And I worked in restaurants, so I'm pretty particular about my food. That omelet was so good that I went back to the chef and said thank you. Like, really enjoyed it that much. And that was just the buffet. And if you watch the Cruise Port Captain at all, or you've listened so far, you know me and the first mate have a sweet tooth. This was in the Horizon Bistro, and all of that, where you see those two display cases next to me, that's all pastry, all cookies, cakes. You can see the first mate there. He's at a cookie bar. You might as well just inject that kid with liquid nitrogen, I don't know, or some other kind of poison, because that is his Achilles heel. But very high qualities too. Like the croissants were like maybe they weren't made on ship, but they certainly tasted like it. Elephant ears, donuts were amazing. So if you go on Princess and you have a sweet tooth, just be prepared. Be prepared. That's all I'm saying. And as I was saying again, you certainly are not losing anything if you decide to stay at the buffet, which is mostly what we do. But this was one of the nights near the end where they just did this cake extravaganza. So you can just see the craftsmanship and the skill that goes into these desserts. And everything we ate, you could taste that quality and skill. And I just love looking at this artistry. Like this cheese, literally cheesecake. How clever is that? No, we didn't go to formal dining very much, but I did want to give you a taste of what it was like. Linens, the very upper scale restaurant experience, menus and whatnot. Um, Now, if you don't like formal dining as much, it's not really our thing. We usually like just to go to the buffet and get our stuff. But we do like the desserts sometimes when it's just like it's something that you can't get on the buffet. They're very accommodating. So for this particular night, we just asked if we could have dessert, and they said, of course. So I just want to give you a sense of what the restaurant felt like. You do know that you're in formal dining. Probably going to have that traditional thing, whether you can sit with a group of people or you can sit on your own. So we have a two-seater here. But they had many restaurants that are available. I don't have any information on the specialty dining here because we did not do that this cruise and I forgot to film it. So, last little place that you can get food is near the outdoors. So, you're kind of tired of all this fancy food. You feel like you're just going to explode. Would not blame you. But their outdoor options are Prego Pizzeria. It's supposed to be the best pizza on the sea. I don't know if it was the best pizza on the sea, but it was pretty darn tasty. And then they have the Trident Grill, which is hamburgers, hot dogs, and it's all made to order. And here I have a basket of loaded cheese fries. And you can see it's a little bit cooler because I have a jacket on because we were doing the crossing. But it was very good too. We had been on Princess about a decade ago for a Thanksgiving cruise through the Panama Canal. And we didn't remember as it being a wow experience. We thought it was an okay experience, but it wasn't a wow experience. And after going on the Regal Princess this year, we couldn't remember why we didn't go on Princess for so long in that decade. And one reason, like we said, is that first experience was it was all right, but it wasn't a wow. The other thing we have is like Prince's is definitely more one of the more upper expensive lines, and we are all we're not, I wouldn't say budget cruisers, like we're really looking for the lowest deal, but compared to the other cruise lines of what they had to offer for a similar itinerary, we would go with them. And in the other cruise lines, we started getting higher in their loyalty programs, and Princess's loyalty program is nothing really special. Another thing, I was talking to a friend of mine who works in the cruise industry, and she was saying why her and her partner were frustrated about Princess is that because they're not clear on when their pricing is. Like they jump around, like they'll offer full price and then it's 50% off, then it's 30% off, then it jumps back to full price. So her, like us, would like to be more loyal to Princess, but it's hard because you have to play a big pricing game. So those were the big reasons that were kind of we didn't go before. So using what we know now, we will go on Princess again. We already booked another Princess cruise for December, but being mindful with those things of the price may jump around, so we may have to contact our agent and get all that worked out. And just formal nights. So we didn't bring really formal clothes. We're excited about that. But if you're thinking about Princess and you found a cruise that looks good for you, we encourage you to try it. We enjoyed this second trip, like I said, so much that we booked another trip. And we think you're going to have a good time too. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this probably pretty long, extensive trip of the Regal Princess. And of course, you can look at other YouTube creators, and they're gonna probably show you more in depth what the actual physical spaces looked like. But I hope this information helped you get a good idea of whether the Regal Princess is for you or not. And as always, at the bottom, if you have been on the Regal Princess and you have comments, leave them there for your fellow travelers. feel like this is a community and we're all trying to see the world and enjoy the world so we can help each other out. And if you like the video, please hit that like button. And as we are a new channel, the thing you can really do for us that would so help us is hit that subscribe button. And that subscribe button in YouTube world means a lot to all your content creators. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps us in YouTube land to get our information out to anybody who wants to see it. And, cruising can be complicated, and our goal at Cruise Port Captain is to make it easy for you to understand or give you great information so you make a good decision so you can make every port day count. Also, in the description are some things that we use when we are traveling. I'll tell you, those laundry bags, they are more handy than you actually could ever think. So check those out if those are handy for you. I think I've said all I need to say. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, make life a bon voyage. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this probably pretty long, extensive trip of the Regal Princess. And of course, you can look at other YouTube creators, and they're gonna probably show you more in depth what the actual physical spaces look like.